Welcome to PAST 5101 OE. I'm Arthur Kelly, and I have the pleasure of guiding you, accompanying you through this course. I think of it as a kind of journey or pilgrimage for this spring 2026 semester. I am eager to meet you virtually and to engage your head and heart in the exploration of spiritual and ministerial formation. The purpose of this week, week one, is to provide you with what I think of as the essentials, even the foundational nature of this course, where it's headed, how we'll get there, my role and yours, and some key vocabulary that will be used throughout the semester. I trust you will forgive me for a very long opening lecture. It's a kind of complicated course, as complicated as it is important. I want to be as thoughtful about what's going on in it as possible. To be clear and to be honest, this is really a continuation of the lecture from week 0. Although I said that's not required, and it's not, I do think it's a very important element, and what I talk about here today will make much more sense if you start with 0 week. But first, let me introduce me to you. My name is Arthur Kelly. You may call me Professor Kelly, Mr. Kelly, Dr. Kelly. Who knows, by the end of the semester, we may be on a first name basis. This is going to be the last semester of my teaching at AU. I've served for nearly 8 years as a speech and formation teacher. Before this, I taught in Bible and Humanities at Warner Pacific College, University in Portland, Oregon. I'm a retired but still active learner and teacher and have been at it for about 60 years. I think it's time. I began my teaching career in 1966 as a high school English teacher in Red Bluff, Northern California. Since then, in one way or another, I've been a teacher of English, communications, literature, Bible, and the humanities, and now spiritual formation. I'm a transplanted Californian who has lived more years in Oregon and Indiana now than in California, where I grew up. I graduated from Warner Pacific College in those days in 1965 and worked there as a teacher and administrator for 23 years after a brief interruption in seminary here at Anderson University. Worked there for 23 years, beginning my career in 1972. At Warner Pacific, I served as English and Humanities professor, as Dean of Students and Provost, but always in my heart a teacher. I left in 1995 and worked for 15 years in publishing and editorial work for Warner Press, the denominational publishing house here in Anderson, Indiana, and for Church of God Ministries, the headquarters of the Church of God, which is the denomination, as you may know, that sponsors Anderson University. I retired from Church of God Ministries a few years ago and returned home to Oregon and to teaching again at Warner Pacific in both the traditional and adult programs. Several years ago, we replanted ourselves in Anderson, Indiana, and this is the beginning of the second semester of my 8th year of teaching here. We've lived in Anderson 3 times. I'm married to Judy and have been since 1964. We have 3 adult children, 3 adult grandchildren, and now 5 great-grandchildren. I am a reader. I aspire to be a poet. I love talking about important stuff, which is one major reason I keep teaching. I love teaching. I love learning. I never feel quite as at home as I do when in the literal or virtual classroom with students who also love learning. I think the lines between teacher and learner are often very blurred, so I look forward to learning from you as well. I will engage you as intelligent and experienced persons who have much to share, much to learn, just as I do. Not long ago, in a Strength Finders survey, I learned that my signature themes are, and I think these are pretty accurate: input, which means I'm inquisitive; empathy, which means I'm intuitive; connectedness, which means I'm a bridge builder; arranger, I'm a flexible problem solver; and intellection, I like to think. I think those themes do a pretty good job of summing me up. You'll be the judge of that. Beyond those, I think of myself as a relational teacher. It kind of summarizes all those strengths. I do not make distinctions between academic learning and life learning. You'll be asked to do both in this class, and I will formulate my lectures and my responses to you in both ways. I genuinely look forward to spending time with you all, and I hope facilitating your pilgrimage wherever it may take you. Before I turn to some of the other items for this new beginning, let me say this loudly and clearly. Study the syllabus. Study the syllabus. It is posted on Canvas, as is the calendar. It's the official statement of the course, its purpose and activities, as well as information about your responsibilities. Because this is an online course, I've worked hard to make the process as clear as possible. By the way, I should interrupt myself at this point and say, if you need to get in touch with me, use my phone number. It's there on the syllabus. It's a 503. I still carry Oregon in my phone. 503 number. Please, and text. It's almost always the best way, the quickest way to get me and a response from me. State your name and that you're 5101 or something like that, so I know, because I also teach other classes here at Anderson, and I need to be sure what the context is for the person I'm writing or responding to. This course is divided into 3 sections, 3 major focuses. The first one, which actually begins next week, will be exploring human development. It will not be an in-depth study. My plan is to teach about our development as human beings engaged in discovering who we are, who we belong to, and how we live in the face of what some call the human condition, others call the human predicament. The second focus is on spiritual formation. By that I mean how we come to believe what we believe, what is meant by faith formation, and how we learn to live and grow faithful to our beliefs, because that's the connection. The third focus is on understanding of the role of spiritual leaders, pastors, teachers, board members, whoever is in leadership in the local congregation, spiritual leaders in Christian community formation. How will we do this? If you've taken OE courses at AU, then you know the drill. If not, here's how it works. Each week we'll begin with a lecture or other presentation that addresses the particular focus for the week, as you will find outlined in the calendar and the syllabus. This lecture will be recorded as a video, like this one is, or in some instances as a narrated PowerPoint. Nearly every week will include reading and a response to this reading. I'll explain that reading and response as part of the lecture, and when necessary, direct you to the prompts for that response that will be available on Canvas. My lectures will always be posted to Canvas no later than Saturday night of the preceding week, so you have plenty of heads-up time to read and review and respond. the 3 R's. Sometimes there will be an additional video that I think is particularly effective in its treatment or response to the matter we're studying. What do you do? Legit question. That was what do I do, and now this is what do you do? Well, obviously, follow the directions, watch the lectures, and so forth. Then you will respond to the challenge, the prompts, by and not later than 11:59 p.m. on day 3 of the week, Wednesday normally. You will engage with your classmates with a follow-up response to your classmates' initial responses by and no later than 11:59 p.m. on day 7 of the week, Sunday. You should post at least 2 substantive follow-up responses to your instructor or classmates. Now, what do I mean by substantive? I've written a whole statement in response to this question. You'll find it in this module for the week. It's titled Personal Reflection Responses. What is Professor Kelly looking for? You'll find this there in the module. In this module, you'll also find a narrated PowerPoint that provides definitions for several key terms that I will be using pretty consistently throughout the course. We will no doubt add depth and some substance to those as the course continues, but I will not vary in my use of the terms as they are defined here, since we will begin to use these nearly immediately. I want to start with 3 as the best beginning. Number 1, human development, the human condition, and human agency. What I mean by this is the unique and believed to be inescapable features of being human, irreducible, inherent, independent of gender, race, ethnicity, class, nationality, over which we have little or no control. Self-awareness, rationality, sapience, curiosity, appearance and reality, inevitability of isolation, mortality and anxiety about death, capacity for good and evil. Those are all characteristics of what it means to be a human being. Human development is a branch of psychology that studies and strives to optimize the elements that help people live healthy and fulfilling lives. This field seems to understand the various changes, physical, emotional, and intellectual, etc., individuals and their relationships go through as they continue to learn and grow. Whatever else we're talking about, we're human beings. We can't escape our humanity. Number 2, Christian spiritual formation / faith formation. This language focuses on the deepening of one's relationship with the Trinitarian God. Note the qualifier Christian. Spiritual formation is not unique to Christianity. All religions address formation. In this particular context, Anderson University and its mission, we will focus on Christian formation and history, understandings and teachings of Jesus and the church. Discipleship, which is often used synonymously with formation, is, I think, more specific and directly related to this course. Discipleship is a focus on the maturing of one's faith in the context of the particular beliefs and values of a faith community. It often focuses on the individual and her relationship with God and beliefs about God. But in Christian formation in particular, there's no private faith. It is personal and communal. Finally, pastoral and communal formation, the third focus of this course. Because this is a school of theology and Christian ministry, we will also focus on the role and responsibilities of leaders in the life of the church and ask what is that role and what is that responsibility and how are those lived out in the communal life of the church. This will be the final division of our work together, and in many ways, it's a bringing together of all that we've explored and considered during the previous weeks. Well, I have reached the end of what I intended for today, except to call your attention to your assignment for this week. This is an invitation to begin a practice that is essential in the world of spiritual formation, personal reflection. Much of this course is simply, and not so simply, an invitation to do what we seldom take or even have the opportunity to do. Reflect on my life. Reflect on our lives together. More will be said about this essential practice later, but for now I urge you to respond seriously and transparently to this reflection process. It will not only initiate you to a central practice of the course, but it also has the effect of getting acquainted. For the most part, I don't know you. Some of you may know each other. Some may know no one in class. We need to get acquainted. So once you have finished listening to me, go to the assignment titled, Let Me Introduce You on Canvas, follow the directions, and post your responses following the directions I've given there and which are also on Canvas, here and also on Canvas. In the syllabus for the course, under the section that describes the assignments, I wrote this. At the heart of any course in spiritual formation is the idea of spiritual practices. It is the hope of this professor that each of you will understand and approach your work in this course, the readings, reflections, conversations, as spiritual disciplines. The wisdom of Anderson University is summarized in the Centennial History of AU, a book entitled The Desk as Altar, written by Professor Dr. Merle Strage, Professor Emeritus, Anderson University. This phrase, the desk as altar, is a fitting theme for any student taking any class, but it is especially fitting for a course in Christian spiritual formation. It is my hope and my prayer that it will be the perspective from within which you approach this course. Enough, more than enough. You're probably thinking, I'm excited to begin the journey. I hope you are as well. Blessings and traveling mercies. See you soon.